Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 97 of the Daily BLP. Today is Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. We are about getting ready soon, just around the corner, to wrap up this year. I took the week off last week. Sorry I missed all of you guys. Hopefully you didn't miss me too much. But we're back and a rolling camera. So today's show should be pretty fun. A little bit of catch up from early last week before Christmas. Oh, that's right. Last week was Christmas. Hopefully everybody had a great Christmas. Had some time to have a little joy with family, friends, or maybe just relax and do your own thing if that's what you got going on. That can be personally profitable as well. Had a great Christmas. Spent time with loved ones. Gave some fun gifts, got some fun gifts. But most of all, just really got to see the joy on friends and family's faces from being around each other, whether that's at church or, in the neighborhood or in my house or in family's house. So, but let's get into today's show, shall we? So right away, first segment, let's talk a little bit about the world of Panacea. What have we been up to the last few days, when we weren't not working, not getting anything done on those vacation days that squeak in during Christmas time. Last week, Tuesday, I had a presentation meeting for two new IT managed service prospects, kind of a 2-for-1 package deal. Super hyped about it. But I went out to Beaver Dam to meet with one of the owners and his staff, the other owner and their staff. They couldn't make it up, but they're related. They're really close, but they are two separate companies. But we're happy to have the opportunity. We're super excited that we even got to sit down at the table and, pitch our services. They weren't experiencing great services from the client they had. That's why we were at the table. And, we took the time the week before to do a network assessment. The week before that to have a discovery meeting. I got to meet folks from each company. Fantastic. Two different companies, though, man. Two separate types of manufacturing companies. But, man, they're really cool. Really cool what they're making. Kind of exciting. Kind of a new, not new spin on an old product on one of them. And then a whole new company that's only 3 years old that seems to be growing like gangbusters. So great to have that opportunity. But anyway, presented the service offering to them. I think that went well. We left the table agreeing that they were going to move forward with us. We're still waiting on getting those signatures, but that's sometimes how it goes, especially in this season when, everybody's kind of flying by the seat of their pants trying to wrap up the end of the year. And all kinds of things going on, vacations and time away from the office. And I literally went in and met with folks the day before Christmas Eve. So, but we had a handshake agreement that we were going to be their pick. And I trust them on that. So super excited. They, at the time they were like, hey, we want to get started right away. First week of January. As soon as we get those signatures, electronically or on a piece of paper, we'll get our ball rolling and get out there and get things started. So super, I said that like 5 times already. We're super excited to have that opportunity to work with those folks. What else is on here? Had a meeting with one of our largest clients today about adding some new service. They were kind of asking us if we could do a certain thing as an extension of our current service that we have with them, but it's kind of a gray area. But it just so happens that what they wanted us to do, which was, so one of the many things we do for this client is revenue cycle management, their healthcare client. So billing, coding, accounts receivables, credentialing, all that fun stuff. One of the thing that they wanted us to do was they're having an issue with, some weird insurance information getting into their system from them. So they wanted to do kind of some calls to the patients to confirm their insurance information when it meets certain criteria. And we typically, in a billing service, we're typically not client facing. Some instances, special occasions, we are. So we're a hybrid team. We have a portion of our team here in the U.S. doing certain things. And we have another portion of our team in India doing certain things. And we have some clients where they've requested like some of our U.S. team to do some client-facing type things. Because most of the time in healthcare billing, we're either in touch with the client a lot or we're in touch with the insurance companies a lot, not usually the patients, at least on a vocal or face-to-face level. So we wanted to dig in a little bit more, find out the scope of exactly what they wanted us to do. So we got on a Zoom meeting today and went through it, and come to find out, the person we met with was like, I don't know, there's kind of some overlap here. I'm not even sure it's really going to work because this should be a duty of things, of some employees we already have doing some similar type work when they're calling to confirm, appointments and all that fun stuff, or to schedule. And we kind of think we could put that in there, but we're having trouble with keeping those employees or that getting to all the calls. So maybe we will need you to do that. And I brought up that we had been approached by their CEO and one of their facility managers to do just that, which is call center services. And so I'm in the process of kind of going over the scope of that position when they hire internally for it and how we would do it externally as a call center operation here. And because we do these kind of things for some of our other clients, but they're just a little bit different and probably be a higher volume than our other clients. But that's not a big deal. I just want to make sure you cover everything in the scope of the agreement to make sure that, what we hire for has the ability to do all the things that they need. And there's certain performance indicators that we're following so that, we can report on a regular basis that everything they need done is getting done. So it was a great meeting, short meeting. So I brought that up. Hey, this has come to our attention already. What you're talking about could easily be popped into that. And it's just kind of, that's part of the job description of, the call center that we would set up for them. So he agreed. So that's what I'm working on these next couple of days, which that was one of the things I was talking about at the end of the show is what I got going on tomorrow. But these kind of conversations are important. A relationship is healthy when in the course of a month, different people from different parts of a client give you a call asking you to do things that they didn't even know the other was asking about that fit well together. It says they trust you. It says they know that you're flexible. It says that you're willing to sit down and listen. And they know that, when a client approaches you about something, the client knows that there's going to be an extra fee. Rarely does a client ask you to do something like completely outside of the scope of something and expect it to be free. If that's what clients are doing, then you got to have a serious conversation. But they know that in this case, we've been together a long time in this business relationship, and we've come through for them many times in different instances. So we'll see. It's what they want us to do is definitely doable. It's not beyond our capabilities at all. Like I said, we're doing those things. The trick is when you outsource with certain stipulations to a company like us or someone else that does things like us, it's typically not going to be cheaper, especially when we're talking manpower, to get things done than it would be if, for instance, you're trying to hire someone internally. The hourly comparison, you're going to pay a little bit more to have someone else do it because they're paying the person probably a similar wage that you would be paying the person, but there's other things that have to stack on top of that. The internal expense of having the employee, the managing the employee, the profit built into the deal, because you don't just do deals like this to break even. Because if you're breaking even, you're probably losing money. Took me way too long to figure that out. But yeah, super excited. Can't wait to see if that pans out. What else is going on? Oh, met with Gunjan. If you've been watching the episodes over the last year or so, Gunjan he's our digital marketing manager, our marketing team over our office in India. So we met with them today to just talk about one of our clients. We're going to be taking on doing digital marketing as well. So this client in particular, we do their IT and we do their revenue cycle management and their transcription, another medical client. But they've realized over the years, they've seen some success of other clients that they know work with us for marketing, and they want some of that action too. So we're doing some detective work, really trying to figure out and meet some of the folks that have done marketing related activities for this particular client in the past, kind of bring them under the fold. Like we've met with one already who's very effective. So we're thinking, hey, they're doing what they're being paid to do and they're performing well. This is one you hang on to. Some of the others, not so much. So this is a really good meeting. It was just talking to Gunjan about, hey, this is, the client, they've been with us a long time. Here's what we do for them. Here's what they want us to do. Here's what they've got. Here's what our next steps are. So I'll keep everybody posted on how that goes. Really looking to pilot some of the new things we're doing when it comes to our marketing services and how we launch things for new clients. So that'll be fun. That's all for that page, folks. Page 2 of the agenda. What do we got? Update from last week. I talked about that. And then had a meeting today. Lead that came in, Gunjan, he actually sent me because he sees him and the team they help out with contacting folks on LinkedIn. So they'll reach out on behalf of me or my business partner to folks that might be good prospects for us. And if we get, if the fish bites, we contact them. So, and they give them to me and I contact them, book a meeting and see if we get business from them. So I contacted yesterday, was able to book a meeting with her, this practice in New York. It turns out they're looking for credentialing help and I think virtual medical assistance, which kind of falls under what I talked about earlier that we're looking to do for this other client. So we booked a meeting for this morning, 9 o'clock our time, 10 o'clock their time, and crickets. She didn't show, which happens, especially folks you don't know very well. You haven't had a good, solid phone call with. I had one with her, talked to her, we explained the things we do. Oh, we're interested in that and that. Let's get together. So tomorrow, today was supposedly a good day. But when you're running a practice like this person, it's the practice administrator, the office manager, or director of operations, whatever. There's lots of different titles for people at medical offices in this role. She's running that show, and things come up, patient issues or account issues or employee issues, you name it, vendor issues. You never know what's going to come up. So when these folks book meetings, it's very important for us as sales or business development people to have some grace. Sure, it's disappointing. Sure, it's frustrating when you're getting hyped up. You know what you've got. You know what you're going to talk about. You got your questions ready. You're excited for the opportunity to meet someone new and possibly land some new business for your company. But you also have to remember to have grace. So it took me some time to not to curb my enthusiasm, like the show name, when it comes to these things. I curb my enthusiasm on a discovery meeting and on a presentation. I never get too high or too low at the end, no matter how good the feeling is or my gut or whatever, because I've had presentations where I've thought, man, this is a nothing burger, and it's turned into a big deal, long-term relationship, great clients. And I've had presentations where I thought I knocked it out of the park and they're leaving, everybody's leaving on cloud 9 ready to get going, and it never happens. So it's, word of advice, be even keel, get fired up, work hard, hype yourself up internally, but don't get too committed in your head one way or the other, because, you're going to waste time worrying and getting anxiety over things. And it's just not healthy. So, so she didn't show. And then, so typically if someone doesn't come in to these remote meetings right away, it's like, okay, I'll give them a couple minutes and I'll pop an email out and I'll wait a couple minutes. If I don't get a reply, that's kind of telling them they're not at the desk. They're not kind of working on their computer, because an email will usually ding or notify somebody. They'll check it. Oh crap, I'm late for a meeting, right? Not the case. So waited a few more minutes. All right, I'm just going to pick up the phone call, get to the receptionist. Receptionist come back. Hey, she's in a meeting. She's really sorry. She thinks she'll be about 10 more minutes. Can you guys still meet? Yep, I'll hang on. I'll be on the line. But I didn't have an infinite amount of time in that spot because I had another meeting coming up at 10 my time. So I waited till about 10:02, shot her an email. Hey, I got to bounce this meeting. Let's push it back. I'm looking at noon your time. If that works for you, great. I'll update it. If it doesn't, reply back, let me know. So she replied back that she was super sorry and that noon worked. I told her, hey, no problem. I completely understand. I'll see you at noon. Noon rolls around. Another no-show. I'm like, what? Because she even replied back. She's like, I'll be there. I'm like, okay. Usually even when they show her, you don't get the extra communication that's like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to do that. But again, grace prevails. I didn't get upset that she wasn't there. I just went and ate lunch, right? No, but I stuck around, kept the meeting open a little bit. She super apologized. She's like, she sent me an email and said something like that. I am so stupid. I'm like, no. I sent her a little, crying, laughing emoji back and said, no, it's okay. I've got a few minutes if you can still pop in. Otherwise, let's push to tomorrow. So she never showed. So I'm relatively competent. Competent. Most of the time, not competent, but confident that the meeting will happen tomorrow or in the next couple of days. It's just she's got to, she's winding down a business at the end of the year. I can make all kinds of excuses to keep myself even keeled about it, but I'm sure that we'll be meeting here shortly. So we'll see what happens with that one. Anyway, moving on to the next segment of the show, business news. So I asked the all-knowing AI mind to give me a big story from the day. I was like, dealer's choice, give me something big. So what it gave me, I haven't really been paying attention to, but it gave me a story about fintech, finance technology, like software companies, and big tech, your Googles, your Microsofts, those guys, are rapidly moving to replace traditional banking. So I was like, that's interesting. What's this about? Because I don't see that in my personal or business life, right? I mean, I've got my personal bank. We've worked with, I think, since we've opened this business, 3 different banks, and are currently working with a brand new, more local bank that we really like. Someone who I think approached me on LinkedIn is a local guy in the city where I live. We got together, had lunch maybe about a year ago, and I said, hey, this might be something good for us, because we were looking for a bank that was going to give us a little bit more personalized attention. Like both of the banks that we started with, one was BMO Harris Bank, and I want to say they were a nightmare. They weren't a nightmare. They were just like, it was evident we didn't matter. I mean, we were a brand new business. We didn't ask them for any loans. We just needed banking, and we needed some special services like the ability to process ACH payments, make pulls and things like that from clients, because you'll learn if you open a business that's specially service related that you want to get into the world of being able to pull the money on the date and time that it's expected, so you're not waiting on checks, and in a manner that doesn't, like a credit transaction, that doesn't charge a convenience fee that either you eat or you make your clients eat, because that's not fun. But anyway, so that bank, it was just, I'm not trying to say they're a bad bank. If you bank with them that's fine. And if they're doing a good job, that's fine. Our experience was anytime we tried to call somebody at the local branches or, at, not a national level, but, from a web presence, get a hold of somebody to help us do some things. Nobody cared. And, they basically told us they couldn't do ACH transactions for a number of different reasons and blah, blah, blah. And they definitely weren't going to give us a line of credit and blah, blah, blah. So, we stuck with them for a couple of years because we just didn't have the time or energy to go bank shopping. And then I was kind of getting involved in some local networking opportunities through chambers and stuff. And I ran into a commercial banker from US Bank. And I personally have banked with US Bank for years and had fine experiences. Nothing too awesome, nothing bad though. And I was like, okay, we'll give you guys a shot. So I introduced her to my business partner, and they talked, and they came and met with us a little bit. And turns out the person that I even knew wasn't even in the region where our business is. So we didn't even end up working with her, but she was nice enough to pass us along, but still treated us, like we mattered. And so we ended up moving 90% of our banking to that bank, to US Bank, and which has been better. But still, at the same time, they don't want to play ball with us because we're not huge. You know what I mean? We're not hundreds of millions of dollars huge. So again, it was just this thing where, we're looking at getting into acquiring smaller companies and, a percentage of growth that way annually, and other things, higher lines of credit and things like that. They didn't want to play ball. So when I met with this other person, his name is Bob Seal. We had lunch, which no one from any of these other places was willing to do. So we had lunch, and I can't remember if I paid or he paid, but it was a good lunch. And said, hey, this might be, worth looking into. So I got busy. He kept following up. I kept kind of pushing it out because I just didn't have time. And I'd given the information to my business partners and stuff and said, we should talk about this. And eventually we did. And we agreed that we should look a little further. So we brought him out to our other office before we moved, met with him and another person from his bank. And I think everybody kind of hit it off. We agreed that, hey, at least we should open an account and, learn a little bit what it's like to work this bank. And it was great. So, we're looking at working with them a little bit more. We're, exploring some opportunities for acquiring small companies to grow, and they're working with us. They want to do that with us, and fantastic. So, that's kind of my experience with banking. It's like, I don't use, I go online to bank with my bank. I'm not using any other apps. We use an app to do our, we don't use QuickBooks. We use another software to do kind of our, like our invoices and stuff like that. We have an accountant that does our payroll. I think he's using QuickBooks. But there's other examples of some of these fintech companies. Let me roll through a couple of them here. These are known as neobanks. Mercury caters heavily to startups and e-commerce businesses, offering businesses checking and savings accounts with no monthly fees or minimum balances, strong integrations with business tools like QuickBooks. So that's a plus, right? One of the things, when I'm banking for my LLC is I wish there was more tools in this online, place that I go to, look into my accounts and move money around and that kind of stuff. If there's more business management tools in there that was a part of that, I would be spending a lot more time in there and could be marketed to for some of the services that they use to make real money. Relay is another one, designed for small businesses and bookkeeping teams, provide multiple checking accounts for better cash flow. Novo is one, focuses on freelancers and small business owners. Bluevine offers business banking products like loans and credit cards with a focus on integrating accounting tools. That's good. And potentially providing access to credit for small businesses. That's a big deal. As a small business, you're getting started and you're getting new clients and you're making some money. Sometimes it's one of the hardest things to do is take that to the next level and maybe scale it 1x or 2x. If you can figure out how to do that, usually you can figure out how to take it a little bit more and more, and you can inch it along. But a lot of the times the ability to scale that is, how do I get more? How do I multiply myself? I know it needs to be done. I've got a process in place to do it. I can't afford to bring somebody in and pay them for the next 3 months. It's going to take me to get them up to speed and teach them how I do so I can release them into the wild to do those things for me. What if I could get a hold of the cash to bring 3 of those people in, train them all for 3 months, and then get them out there making money the way I make money? You know what I mean? But a lot of people, a lot of banks, especially like I said, when you've worked, you've established a relationship with bigger banks, they don't want to play ball. Because, to defend them, you haven't shown the ability to do this at scale, even though you know how to do it, at 1x. Anyway, others, PSPs or payment service providers, Square, PayPal, Stripe, these are all ones we've all probably heard of or interacted with some way out in the marketplace. They're getting into the the financial services market, like loans and accounts and things like that, not just the processing and the transacting. So I can see how banks might be getting nervous. Hey, these guys are encroaching in our territory. What are we going to do about this? Well, in some cases, it's just showing, that, and this is, I think, why it's a story. Some of these things are coming across where banks are losing market share and SMB dominance to some of these other things, because millennials, and as the other generations kind of grow into their business pants, they're going to be more apt to go online, sign up for services like this, rather than go to a bank like I did and sit down with an officer and sign up and fill out a bunch of paperwork. That's what I did when I was young and I got my first bank account. That's what I did when I got older and opened up my business bank account. That's what I thought you had to do. That's what I was familiar with, so that's what I did. But we're getting old, and less of us are starting new businesses, and more of them, the younger crowd, are starting new businesses, and that's the way they're more apt to do it. So I guess banks aren't dumb. They see this too. They can react. Some of them are going to have the capital to go out and purchase some of these fintech companies and just bring them into the fold. Some of them are going to develop internally. And just like those companies are kind of encroaching in on what they're doing, banks are going to start to do the same thing. So I think it'll end up being a hybrid. You'll have some players that are on each side that are just non-dynamic, and this is where they stay. And then as you get closer to the middle, you're going to have more in the middle that try to do everything. So we'll see. This would be a good topic to talk about with someone who actually knows what the heck they're talking about. I mentioned Bob. I wonder if Bob would be on board to do a show. Maybe I'll reach out to him tomorrow. Maybe we can get him in here next week or sometime soon and dive into this a little bit deeper, because a couple things. I think it's just interesting to find out from a perspective of someone who's been in banking a long time, especially business banking, on if this is a real threat to the banking world, or what he's seen, recently that, let's say, his bank or other banks are doing about it. And then his perception and advice to the business people, or people who want to get into having businesses, on what the smart way to do is, even from a bank perspective, how to leverage both properly. So I think that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, we'll see how that plays out. Segment number 3. One more week of football, one more regular season week of football, and we got playoffs, NCAA, and then we got right around the corner, not too long, is going to be the national championship game. So it's a big, what, or get off the pot moment for a lot of football teams right now. What's the playoff picture look like? I don't know. Let's take a look. A lot of you guys probably already know or don't care, but we'll see. I care. That's why I'm talking about it. I tell you what, who predicted the 2 number 1 seeds being the Broncos and the Seahawks? Did they even make the playoffs last year? I don't know. We're going to find out, though. Let's look and see. Let's consult. Did the Broncos or Seahawks make the playoffs last year? Thanks for anticipating when I was going to. Oh, yeah, they did. Wait, I think this is looking at this year. AI mode, because Google just sent me a bunch of junk. No, neither the Broncos nor the Seahawks made the NFL playoffs last year. Why is it giving? It's literally giving me the 2023 season. Why is it giving me? Last year wasn't 2023. Last year was 24. So they didn't make it in 2024. What about in 2024's season? I'm going to look like such a dummy. The Broncos made the playoffs while the Seahawks did not. Okay, there you go. They were third in the AFC West, made playoffs, and they lost in the wild card round at 10-7. And then the Seahawks were 10-7, second in the NFC West, or the Denver Broncos in the AFC West. They did not qualify. Both teams, same record, separate conferences, 10-7, didn't qualify. This year, both teams, same record, 13-3, top seeds. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's really cool. Another surprise. Who would have predicted that the New England Patriots would have gone 13-3 at this point with one game left? I mean, all three of these teams could be 14-3 at the end of the year. I wouldn't have predicted any of them to be even 13-4 at the end of the year. So I think this is fascinating that we have such a swing when it comes to kind of the power struggle in the NFL from last year to this year. Another surprise, I'll tell you, Chicago Bears. I bet you nobody's more surprised than the Bears fans. You know, besides a couple other cities fans, man, the Bears fans, they have to endure a lot. I mean, their biggest rival, arguably, the Green Bay Packers, come from a market maybe, I don't know, maybe a 30th of the size of Chicago. Now, the parity built into the NFL structure with, you know, salary caps and all that fun stuff beats some of that. But listen, I don't know a lot of these guys, high-performing athletes, basically celebrity status, especially the ones that kind of drive maybe the highest skilled, highest paid players. I don't know a lot of them that even want to live in Chicago. Chicago's a neat city. It's a nice city, not necessarily a safe city. I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but it's true. But it's a cool city. I mean, I've been to Chicago many times over the years. I don't live that far from Chicago. I used to love to go to Chicago. I don't like the traffic. I don't like trying to find somewhere to park. If you park somewhere downtown, if you don't have some sort of mapping system, you're going to lose where you park. You won't figure it out unless you get lucky enough to park really close to wherever you're supposed to be. But I'm a big truck guy. I can't bring my big truck downtown to Chicago. Can't bring it downtown most places. There's cities that you can, Kansas City, St. Louis, Milwaukee, but they're not huge cities like Chicago is. But Chicago's a huge market. There's a lot going on in Chicago. There's a lot to do. So there's a draw for these guys. Green Bay, I mean, for me personally, the draw is it's a beautiful city, nice people, rabid football fans, Packer fans, but quiet, relatively low crime per capita, no giant buildings, no smog, no pollution, lots of outdoor things to do, relatively close, but it's not, you know, high life type of city that really attracts celebrities. But I don't know how they do it, but they have consistently great teams year in and year out, even to the dismay if they don't win the Super Bowl of Packer fans. But they've got a good organization. They're respected. Them in Buffalo surprised the heck out of me, but Buffalo's a bigger market than Green Bay. It's closer to bigger markets too. Green Bay is a one of a kind. No, I'm not. I mean, I don't dislike the Packers. I'm not a Packer fan. Didn't grow up here. But I like to see him win. But man, Chicago, that's tough. Again, getting back, I'm getting off topic and I'm running a little long, but I would have never have guessed Chicago would be, representing the NFC North as the number one seed in the North, for the NFC. Eagles, no big surprise. 49ers, no big surprise. Rams, not a big surprise. Surprise Packers are at number 7. I wouldn't have been surprised if those would be swapped. But on the other side, Jaguars, that's a big surprise too. What's their record? 12-4. Are you kidding me? 1 or 2 years ago, the Jaguars they were a laughing stock. What was the Jaguars record from the last 3 seasons? Question mark. Shows you how quick a good organization can rebuild and not just stay stagnant like my team, the Cowboys. It's just, you got all this. I'm not going to get into it. It's not about them. It's not about them. Okay. 2022, 9-8. 2023, 9-8. 2024, 4-3. 4-13. Not great last year. From 4-13 to right now, 12-4. One more game, they completely reversed it in a year. What does that say? What does that say? And I bet you if I look back a couple more years, I would see like even worse records, because I just haven't paid close enough attention over the last 8 or 9 years to football. I just am tertiary watching, get excited when there's cool stories and stuff. But wow. Anyway, who's in the hunt? The Steelers in the AFC, the Ravens, they're in the hunt. Steelers, what's it telling me here? They're 9-7. They're first in the AFC North. Ravens are 8-8. They're second. So, yeah, wins and losses are going to be a big deal for those teams this week. Over on the other side of the NFL, the Panthers and the Buccaneers, same division. Panthers are up by a game, but they are in the hunt. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. And everybody else is degenerate, and they didn't make it. So we're not even going to mention who they are. Well, let's wrap it up. Talked a little bit about tomorrow's going to be a fun day in the year, prepping a proposal or two, maybe another one that I've kind of haven't been paying much attention to, but just because been too busy with the other stuff. We got a brand new employee starting next week. So tomorrow and Friday, when I come back on the 2nd, we're going to make sure we got all our I's dotted and T's crossed for that person to start. Maybe the first, second, third day, or sometime next week, we'll bring them on the show and interview them, and maybe make them a regular part of our kind of sales talk at the beginning of every show. So excited for that. We are growing both in team size and in business size. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode 97 of the Daily BLP. Thanks, everybody, so much for joining, whether it's live today on the stream or sometime down the road. Hopefully, listening, probably not watching, seeing me too much, has been profitable for you as it was for me. It's not really profitable for me financially, but it's just profitably for me to be able to share. So anyway, everybody, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.